All right, let's dive right in. Welcome to another explainer. Today, we're unpacking something pretty fascinating, the hidden psychological struggles of being highly intelligent. We so often think of a high intellect as this ultimate superpower, like it's a golden ticket to success, leadership, and changing the world. And sure, knowing things others don't feels incredibly good. But being smart isn't always a walk in the park. There are a lot of sides to this coin, and today, we're unpacking the real, and sometimes pretty heavy, trade-offs of having a brilliant mind. But before we get too deep, we kind of have to ask ourselves a fundamental question. What is intelligence, really? We throw the word smart around all the time, but for decades, society has tried to boil this incredibly complex human trait down to a single metric. We just assume it's all about how well you score on a standardized test. But we absolutely need to question that basic assumption. Even universally recognized geniuses absolutely rejected the idea of boiling a person down to a simple number. Take Stephen Hawking, for example. He thoroughly denounced the IQ score, and I think we can all agree that Mr. Hawking was, well, quite intelligent. So if one of the smartest minds of our generation says a simple score isn't the whole picture, it demands that we look deeper at what intelligence actually entails and the hidden struggles that come along with it. So here's our roadmap for today's explainer. We'll look at 1. Beyond the IQ score. 2. The social trade-off. 3. The internal overdrive. 4. The weight of expectations. And finally, 5. Validating your brilliant mind.
Kicking things off with Section 1, Beyond the IQ Score, Rethinking Smarts.
Intelligence is, it's a massive, multidimensional construct. It means totally different things to different people, which makes it pretty hard to just put into words. But you absolutely know it when you see it, right? A highly intelligent person is uniquely gifted at analyzing concepts and connecting the dots to build a better understanding of the world. They see how everything fits together. But that intense ability to connect those dots, that comes with a cost.
Moving on to Section 2, the social trade-off, the cost of connection.
Look, life is basically a series of trade-offs, and for the highly intelligent, that cost is very often social. We've all seen the whole awkward nerd trope in movies, the blank stare when someone tells a joke, or the completely wrong comment at the wrong time. The media definitely exaggerates it, but they aren't entirely wrong. A 2015 study by Davidson actually backs this up, showing that folks with a high intelligence quotient often tend to have a lower emotional intelligence quotient, or EQ. And EQ is exactly what helps us hone our social skills and form relationships. So if you're looking for an actionable strategy to find better social balance, it has to start with recognizing this exact mismatch. You don't need to dumb yourself down to be accepted. Instead, the goal is to intentionally seek out your specific crowd, people operating in the same intellectual sphere as you. They're rare for sure, but they are out there, and finding them is how you bridge that social gap.
I think this social friction is just perfectly captured by this quote. Great minds discuss ideas. Average minds discuss events. Small minds discuss people. If you've got a highly intelligent mind, small talk isn't just boring. It's literally exhausting. It feels like a complete waste of time because your brain simply isn't wired for the superficial.
Because of that, highly intelligent people actively dodge the trivial stuff in life. Chatting about the neighbor's new lawn flamingo or mundane daily routines? Yeah, hard pass. Instead, your mind actually craves the deep, the abstract, the thought-provoking. You want to discuss art, science, and huge complex concepts. So when you get trapped in a conversation about lawn ornaments, you just entirely check out.
But here's the real danger with that trade-off. Because making friends or doing the whole small talk dance feels so intimidating, and honestly because others might feel they just can't relate to you, it is incredibly easy to isolate yourself. You throw all your energy into academic or professional pursuits, it just becomes work, work, work. Even if you love what you do, that severe life imbalance between work and social integration eventually leads to burnout, unhappiness, and surprisingly, low self-esteem.
Which brings us to Section 3, the internal overdrive, a mind constantly munching.
Because when you isolate a brilliant mind, that internal machinery kind of starts turning on itself. Have you ever heard of paralysis by analysis? It is a huge hurdle for the highly intelligent person. You're crippled by this constant need to find the absolute most correct answer. Basically, your brain takes in infinite input, analyzing every single angle, every pro, every con. Then, all that data literally clogs up your processing, and the final result? Complete indecision, or just total silence. This is exactly why smart people are often labeled as overly serious or reserved. You're just logicking your way through a massive maze in your head before you speak. Now, an actionable strategy to manage this overthinking is to catch this three-step process in real time. Notice when your processing gets clogged, and consciously give yourself permission to not be perfectly right all the time. Relieve some of that pressure.
Because honestly, your mind just has the munchies. I absolutely love this phrase from our sources. Being highly intelligent means you constantly need intellectual stimulation. You want to stretch your thinking muscles and dive into new discoveries. But that makes simple, everyday, routine tasks feel like puzzles you've already solved. It's a total drag. Pretty soon, everything feels like been there, done that, making the hunt for the next stimulating challenge honestly pretty exhausting.
Let's look at Section 4, the weight of expectations, the pressure to succeed.
That internal drive is massively compounded by external pressure. To paraphrase the great Uncle Ben, with great intelligence comes great expectation. If you're highly intelligent, you feel this heavy pressure coming from everywhere and everyone around you. But the most intense pressure? Yeah, that comes from yourself.
It usually starts with seemingly harmless comments from friends. Hey, got another 4.0 this semester? Or drinks are on you for getting Employee of the Month again, right? But those external voices quickly turn into internal demands. A little part of your mind starts whispering, this is your place. You need to be here, always. And you end up pushing yourself relentlessly to constantly prove your intelligence. This leads directly to intense perfectionism and this completely disproportionate, totally unhealthy fear of failure. You feel like you can literally never let the mask slip.
And finally, Section 5, validating your brilliant mind. Acceptance comes from within.
Carrying all that weight around is just exhausting, and finding acceptance is absolutely crucial. We have to acknowledge a pretty painful reality here. A lot of people will try to define you purely by your intelligence. They just see you as a brain or an IQ score, and they never even try to get past that to know the real you. In some cases, they might even villainize you, just out of pure jealousy. And that is exactly what leaves so many brilliant people feeling incredibly lonely and profoundly disconnected from the world.
But here is the most important takeaway for you today. There is absolutely nothing wrong with you for being exactly who you are. At the end of the day, other people don't validate or create your identity. Only you do. Yes, your intelligence is a huge part of you, but it isn't the entirety of your worth, and you certainly don't need to conform to society's narrow little boxes or dumb yourself down to earn your place in the world.
We've looked at the social isolation, the sheer exhaustion of small talk, the paralysis by analysis, and the crushing weight of those expectations. So as we wrap up this explainer, I really want to leave you with a question to chew on. Which of these trade-offs do you resonate with the most? Take a second to think about how your own brilliant mind operates, recognize the hurdles you face, and remember that understanding these trade-offs is the very first step to actually mastering them. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer today, and keep feeding that curious mind.